headed to my talk show this rise to do an interview, and so I'm dressed to impress, ready to get going. But I wanted to have a live on my way to the studio, and I want to talk about vetting. I want to talk about the #1 mistake that men make when they're vetting for a wife. Okay, so of course the Joe Smith situation and many other situations where in our modern world we're seeing relationships end so abruptly, so horribly. We're seeing them deteriorate sometimes quicker than they could start. We see the children being affected. We see the family being affected. It's just bad. And so a lot of men are afraid of marriage. A lot of men are questioning even if marriage is even a viable option in today's world. But they want families. And what I want to do is tell the men, don't give up. Okay? Please share this content, guys. I want to tell the men, do not give up. It's all in your vetting. Okay? A treasure hunter, the extent of his experience is about as far as he can get to discovering a diamond. You got to understand this. If he's not a good treasure hunter, he can come across something that is of high clarity, and he won't even know it. Okay? And so a lot of times it's you as a man. It's us as a man. And don't get me wrong, this is not a live to kick men when they're down, so to speak. It's actually to enlighten men, to let them know a lot of your experience is actually because of you. Okay? So you got to understand, the brother said, man, it's ugly out here. You're absolutely right, Dom Dixie. So a lot of times it's in your indeficiencies as a treasure hunter whenever you're trying to find a treasure. So just think about this, guys. How many times have we dealt with a woman that we knew really wasn't worth our time as far as her character goes, but she was cute or she was something that we wanted to have around at the time, so we dealt with her anyway? How many times have we done this? How many times have we dated a girl knowing that we didn't really want to date her? We didn't see those qualities in her, but we gave her our time and energy anyway. How many times have we given this woman a child? How many times have we given this woman a wife, and then we're upset at who she is not or how she is performing during the relationship? But what did she really show you before you got into a relationship with her? So we blaming the women, but it's the women that you're choosing, kings. And that's what you got to understand. It's the same way women get out here and say all men are whack, when really it's the men that she is choosing, right? So ask yourself as a man, #1, what is a wife to you? So the #1 problem when it comes to vetting for men is we don't first take an appraisal or an assessment of ourselves to know our value. So you got to first know your value, men, so you can know what you can afford. Okay? If you have just now reached a status of having money, say you just reached a status of 6 figures. Okay, that's great. But what you're going to think is that should be directly parallel to the type of woman that you meet now. And that's just not how it works, man. So let's just say you get yourself to making the $100,000 a year. Yeah, that's one of the things that women say that they like to have. A man who makes decent money, good money. $100,000 a year is great money. So you get to that point, and now women are coming at you out of the wazoo. Does that mean that that's the treasure that you're looking for, the mother that you're looking for in your wife? Right? Does that mean that? Or does that just mean that women are going to be all in your face? Right? So you got to decide which one is right for you. Right? So here's what you got to understand as a man. Remember this word, development. All right? You remember playing Madden? How on Madden it had like these, looked like a star, but it was like this burst that showed a player's stats, right? So it wasn't just like speed 99, strength 88, agility, acceleration, 95, 78. It wasn't like that, right? Stats just in the number, but it's like a burst. It goes out kind of like my hand, and so one of them will show like elusiveness, strength, throw power, hit power, and you can see like the burst kind of come out, and it shows you all of this player's abilities, right? So you can see who you drafted. I know a lot of you men know what I'm talking about, right? I want you guys to think like that. Okay? So if you're making a draft here and you can see this woman's stats sort of like in a burst to you, right? Now, imagine you can see your own, because you got to be able to assess yourself first so you can know your value as a man. Just because you make $100K a year does not necessarily mean you should be looking for a wife yet if you are underdeveloped. Now that could mean that your income is out there, right? 88, 90, 97 income, right? Okay, but what about your discipline, right? What about your experience in finding a good woman? What about your experience in conflict resolution? Okay, so what about your ability in understanding and listening and having patience? So just think about this, family. If you make a lot of money, but your understanding for women and how they move is low, you can end up with a woman who uses you and you wouldn't even know it, right? So you really want to be balanced overall, family. You can't just focus on one quality, if that makes sense to you. I'm hoping that you're catching what I'm putting out, right? So a lot of times when men dive into their craft and they're spending hours and hours and hours beating their craft, working 70, 80-hour weeks, playing sports where they're either training or playing ball. Even though these people might appeal to women, they're actually underdeveloped. They're not going to have the swag, the charisma, the confidence, a lot of those things, because they haven't actually spent a lot of time around women. They've been spending time, making their lives, of course, creating their lives, of course, but that's not being around women. So if a woman sees you and she says, okay, this man, he has the money, he drives the cars. Well, what happens is when she meets you, she can see your underdevelopment because she's dealt with many men, right? So if you're underdeveloped and you're willing to go in this thing, putting the cart before the horse, right? You finally met this woman, she's pretty, probably the prettiest woman you ever dated, and that's parallel to you making more money than you ever made, and you're not grasping this. You're thinking that you got more attractive when really it just means more women are attracted to what you have sustained and not you personally. If you didn't make that money, that woman likely wouldn't be talking to you, but you're not going to consider that, right? You're going to think that, okay, this is the prettiest woman I ever talked to. She's the one, simply based on her looks. And you're going to come spending. This is what makes you a simp, because you're living in your expectations of the woman and not in what you actually vetted from the woman. So you think that she's the one now because she's gorgeous, right? This woman sees you start giving before she's actually proven to you that she's the one. What she sees in that is a weak man. You must do this all the time for women. You must not really have a budget that you're watching. You're not really paying attention to your finances. She starts to see you as someone who's naive, easily duped. You understand? Does this make sense to you? Ladies, you'll understand it this way. Say you meet a guy who is the type of guy that you like to have in your life, right? He's wealthy, he's good looking, he has it all. Okay, you might start simping. You may start throwing things at this guy without him having to earn any of your time and affection, right? Know that when you do that, he's not going to say, oh, she's the one. He may take you up on your time and affection, but he's probably going to devalue you because of how quickly you gave it to him. Now, it might be the first and only time you ever did it with that guy, but that guy that got that experience with you, he has a right to his thoughts, and he's likely to think you've done that before. Does that make sense? That you've been giving it up before, that you move like that you a hoe, that you easy. Now, I know you probably like, I was just completely consumed by him. I was completely wowed by him. I saw no reason to hold back. I wanted him, and I wasn't trying to play no games. Okay, cool. But what you did is you failed to measure. You failed to do the research. You failed to vet. And women got to vet too. So what men got to say to themselves is, you got to take yourself out of this concept of, is she fine, make her wife material? No, sir. It's actually how she behaves. It's actually her culture. It's actually her traumas, what she's been through. It's actually based on what her parents has taught her, the friends she hangs around. You know how they say it takes a village, right? What we have to understand as men is there is no such thing as an individual. Now, I know a lot of y'all gonna wanna compete with that because you're feeling like, hey, I'm an individual. But what I'm saying is your thoughts are not all your own. The way you see the world is likely through how you were taught to see it, or through what you've been through, how you've been affected in this world. So a lot of us are a myriad of everybody we've rubbed up against, right? We are a little bit of like a smorgasbord, right? We taking bits and pieces from everything and different philosophies that we've been around, and here we go, right? But that's not an individual thinking, right? that is you being compromised, so to speak, right? The people that hurt you have shaped how you think. The people that have raised you shape how you think. The people you hang out with, they shape how you think with peer pressure. They push back on thoughts that are not of the majority. And so you end up with this type of majority opinion where you say things that other people might like instead of how you truly feel. We have no extent to the amount of ourselves that we have lost just in trying to go with the flow and be social, right? So you got to understand that, men, you are made up of a myriad of people that you came across as well. Your philosophies are sprinkled with other people's ideas too. So when you're looking at a woman, she cannot just be the physical beauty. So you know how they say stop and smell the roses, kings? Stop and smell the roses. Take it in. Right? Nothing feminine about smelling the roses, wanting to get to know the rose. So don't let anybody make you feel like smelling the roses is feminine. That phrase is a concept that says, you know, take it in, experience it. Don't just look at the beauty of it, right? Actually take it in, experience it. Close your eyes, see what it smells like to you outside of anybody else's opinion, right? And then when you close your eyes and smell the roses, you actually get the full effect of the rose. So it's one just to see the rose. The rose's beauty is really no until you start smelling the roses, you won't realize this, but you will realize once you start smelling the roses, so to speak, that the rose's look or beauty has nothing to do with its smell. Some roses can be big and beautiful and dark red, and you're like, what? This is the most beautiful rose I ever saw. But when you smell it, doesn't have really a smell to it, right? Then some roses can, you know, not be that presentable as you would say. But when you smell it, it'll take you, the scent will take your damn breath away, right? So you would know it's not all that's in the eye of the beholder. It's also in how the person carries themselves. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder, yes, sir. But beauty does not equal character. And the first thing a man should tell himself is that fact. The first thing a woman should tell herself is his money does not equal character. What does beauty and money likely mean? That they have abused it, right? That many people come up to them now because of their money or beauty. And so they're not going to value you coming up to them as much, right? A person with a bunch of money, he's going to be hard to please because he's had access to a lot of things. A woman who is beautiful is likewise hard to please because she's had many people, suitors, coming up to her trying to give her things. At this point in her life, she probably sees it as offensive that people keep coming up to her trying to give her things. She actually finds it offensive that no one tries to find any substance into her, right? So anyway, family, know that it's more to it than how she looks. Okay, what you're looking for is a wife. So let's say, number one, appraise yourself and know your value. Okay, and get balanced, kings. If you don't understand women, you got to date more. I don't care if you don't like how they talking. You got to spend time with them. You got to hear how they talking. You got to vet. Don't get your ego involved in the things that they saying. But you're vetting for a good wife, and you got to stay masculine. You got to keep on meeting women, bro. That's the only way. Okay? Don't get angry at women. That's very petty. It's very feminine. Don't get angry at women. That's crazy. Right? Don't get angry. Get better. Right? Get better at vetting. So there are wives out here. You just got to turn over rocks to find them. And that means you got to ask questions, family. It ain't just going to fall in your lap, right? So once you understand that you are a capable man, not only just do you make the money, but you also know your value. You ain't going to let nobody waste your time or get that money up out of you simply because they're pretty. This means you evolving, right? So as a man, you start to, okay, I think I'm ready for a wife. How else do I know I'm ready for a wife? I've thought about what my family will look like, because I'm not looking for a wife unless I've thought about what it would look like, right? That's like building a damn house and you haven't yet laid the blueprint. That's weird. Like you don't even know what you're looking for. You don't even know what type of land, what type of lot you're looking for, because you don't know what type of house you want. And you sitting here saying, I'm trying to build a house. What kind of house you looking for, right? Is it going to have a basement? Is it going to have an attic? Is it going to have several stories? Is it going to all be on one level? Garage, right? Like, what are you trying to build, man? Is it going to be one of those modulars, like put together homes? Is it going to be a tiny home? You're going to build a big mansion? What are you building? Because the tools that you need to build that with, the materials that you need to build that with, is going to change based on what you're building. So as a man, you're the leader of your life, king. If you're looking for a wife, first ask yourself, what is a wife to you? What is a wife to you based on the family you're trying to produce? So do you want a legacy, or do you just want kids? Now, kids is just, they raise up, they move out when they're 18. As long as they're doing good, you don't have to worry about them, right? whatever the case may be. When you die, you ain't leaving them shit. They're not going to take up and follow into your footsteps. They're not going to give a fuck about what you think about them. They're not going to contribute to your family. You know, you're just going to foot the bill until they're old enough to move, and then they on their own. You know what a kid is. Is that just what you want, some kids, or do you want a legacy? Because if you want a legacy and you want more than kids, you want a woman, a wife who can nurture, and a wife who understands what it takes to create that type of family and legacy. And it can't be a selfish woman, man. You can't be a selfish man to manifest that either. So you got to ask yourself, am I materialistic before I even go out finding her? Because if you're materialistic, what are you likely to attract? If you're going to attract who you are, right? Then you're likely to attract someone who finds your materialism to be attractive and also wants to get up in that whip because of the whip, who also wants the clothes because of the clothes, just like you. Right? So now you got this wife and both of y'all materialistic. So what's going to happen, family? Y'all going to spend all y'all money on things. You're going to have nothing left for them kids. Right? So let's say you meet her and she's superficial. Hey, you superficial. You want a woman with a banging ass body, a nice ass, small waist, nice supple breasts. You know, get a wig split every other week. Put somebody else's hair on it. Get her nails done every single week, right? Put somebody else's damn fingernails on her hand just to be beautiful for you. You want that. And so in turn, what you're going to do is also be superficial. So she's going to like a good looking man who in shape, right? Who buy all the freshest clothes. You know, he's superficial and they find their worth and value in how they look, right? Okay, cool. So now y'all superficial. Does that lead to the best positive outcome of a family? So basically what you're saying, King, what type of wife do I want? So what type of mother do I want my future self to have? Because number one, if you're trying to create a family and you know the purpose is to have children, you know these children will be your future self, right? So if you know you're raising children to be your future self, then that means you got to give them everything that you know now. All the good things you know, rather. The bad things that you